morning, everybody. Welcome to Winning Mondays with Keller Williams, Malaysia. My name is Mariah. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I'm the training coordinator here. And a big hello. Hey, guys, I see you, KW Vanguard. Hello, hello. So hi to everyone on Zoom. Hello to everyone on Facebook. And I love anyone who turns on their video. I'll say hello. Hello. Yeah, glad to see you guys. We have a really great topic today. I'm sure that's why we have a lot of people here. We're going to be talking about getting undercut, trying to avoid getting undercut, right, by in co-agency situations. For those who did not hear it, but in July, 31st of July, we had a similar session. We had it on about fees, about the MIEA standards on fees and how not to avoid, how to avoid the problem of you do all the work and then you don't get paid. So if you like today's session, I recommend you also go back and listen to the 31st July session on fees. Also this similar topic with this, also with our special guests. Yeah, so today as we get into our guests, we're going to be, just to give you a heads up, guys, we're going to do a little bit of learning. There's going to be a lot of questions for you and for us. You can share your stories. You can get ready to ask your stories, questions. You can get ready to type them in the chat and all that. But before we do that, I'm going to do a poll question for you guys. I love polls. I want to hear from you all. Okay, so first question, which I also asked last time, have you read the Malaysian Estate Agency Standards yet? Have you actually read the document? It's not that long, really. There's only, it's quite a reasonable document. I've tried it. So yes or no? I'm hoping that since last time, more of you have read it. That's what I'm hoping. Second question, have you ever been undercut by an unethical co-agent? Yes or no? Have you ever been undercut by an unethical co-agent? Hopefully there's more no's than yeses on that one. But yeah, I'm sure anyone who was undercut, probably you're here today to find out how to avoid this in the future, right? Or probably you already know, because probably you will learn from your mistake. I'm so sorry. I send you I send you hugs. I send you hugs if this happened to you. Okay. But yeah, we're here to be educated, to learn, because in KW, right, our what is it? Our values, our mission is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. Yeah. So of course, for all of you, right, we want to make sure your business is worth owning. It's no point you do all so much work and then you lose out on your commission and all that. It's just not right. It's just not fair. So yeah, want to get your feedback on this poll. Hopefully a few more people can answer. Have you read the Malaysian Estate Agency Standards? Yes or no? And have you ever been undercut by an unethical co-agent? Yes or no? Guys, I'm feeling really sad. I'm seeing the answers coming in and there's way too many yeses on the number 2. I'm getting worried. Oh my goodness, it's so sad. Okay, I'm giving 5 more seconds and I'm going to close the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see. Okay, here's the results out of the people who answered. Oh boy. All right. So most people have not, 70% have not read the standards yet. And unfortunately, 60% said they've been undercut. Oh, I want to cry. This is so sad. That's so painful. I wonder if there's a correlation, though, between the ones that have not read and the ones that have been undercut. I'm wondering now. I see Charles also wondering. I see Charles. Okay. So, yeah. So that's very sad, but okay, that's the situation we're dealing with right now. Good to know. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to bring on our special guest. We have 2 guests here today. We have Miss Chan Ai Cheng and Mr. Charles Lee. Hello, hello. Come on board, guys. Come up here with me. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Can we get some introductions here? Charles, maybe you can introduce yourself first. And tell us.
I always let the ladies start first, but today it's special.
Yeah, this is right. That's right. There's 2 of us and 1 of you.
So I'll do it. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I've been in the industry since 2010. So you know that I'm still very, very young. So yeah, I started in my 20s. So in my 30s right now.
That's right. Very good.
Okay. Yeah. 4 years ago, come into KW family and yeah.
All right. We're glad to have you. And you are a team leader, right? For
Reapfield.
Yeah. Don't be shy.
And the last time that I read, I think many people, the last time that they read their MEAS, Malaysia Estate Agency Standard, was the time that they attended their NCC. So I attended my, I attended mine is in 2012, I think.
Okay.
So
Is that
that's,
is that the last time you read it? Or you read it since then?
no lah, I also read it a few months ago.
Okay, we had to double check. Okay.
But I think many only read it during the time that they did their NCC.
Right, right. Cool. All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Miss Chan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Mariah. Hi, Charles. Thank you for inviting me to this session on Winning Monday on Malaysian Estate Agency Standards. Yeah, I of course, I have read it more times than the average Asian.
I hope so.
Yes, and been through the revisions as well. So that means I've been in real estate long enough to go through the 3 revisions of the standards. First standards actually came out in 1999. And the second standard was revised in 2014 before the recent one in 2020. So the one that a lot of, I think a lot of us have attended, right, where we got our NCC, which is 2012, 2013, that time, there was an amendment already in 2020. So some are not aware that there were certain changes that affected. So I've been in real estate since, 1999. 1999. I've been in various aspects of real estate and in the Malaysian Estate, MIEA, Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents, and so served there for the benefit and the growth of the industry as a whole. So I think, I hope I'll be able to share some insights, and also I'm happy to answer questions, and we'll do it together with Charles and Mariah.
Yay! Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. Okay, so I think just to get started, to make sure we're all on the same page, can you just define the term co-agency for us actually in the context of real estate transaction, in case some people don't even know what we're talking about?
Well, do you want me to go through the standards straight away?
I mean,
the definition
not
is
right away. Just like, what does it mean? What does the co-agency mean?
I should give the actual definition. Wait. Yeah, so we don't get the definition wrong. Okay, wait. Okay, I know I'm not presenting yet.
Yeah, not yet. Not the big one yet.
Not yet. But I just wanted to define co-agency, right? So that we don't get it wrong. Okay. If you look at the here, co-agency. Wait, just give me a sec. I've got like 101. Okay, yes. So here, wait, co-agent and co-agency. Yeah, okay. So co-agency is where an appointed firm, which is the listing agent, enters into an agreement with another estate agency firm that has a prospective party to conclude the transaction and share the fees in a pre-agreed formula. So that is the definition of co-agency based on the standards. So a co-agent would be the estate agency firm which introduces a prospective party, whether it's a purchaser, tenant, or lessee, to the listing agent to conclude the transaction and share the fees in a pre-agreed formula. So actually, there's 2 different definitions.
Right.
Is the process.
For the sake of
is the entity,
the person, right. So for all those, because I'm sure not everyone on the call can process all these kind of language very easily. Maybe Charles, do you have like a real simple way? How do you explain co-agency with like a to people like me that don't understand such big complicated words?
I think is built for technical stuff. So I do the layman one, okay? So actually, co-agency is a arrangement that you have between two parties, 2 agents, right? When they try to close a client, whether a buyer or a tenant.
Right. So representing the 2 different sides. So you have 2.
Yeah.
Are they is it actually considered representing the 2 different sides? Actually, Cheng, is that
collaborations are, so you wanted to have a documented agreement, so there's less misunderstanding or things are being, I think you wanted to record it as well. And I think many agents don't do that. So they're always based on trust. Then whenever the party they feel that left out at the end, if they say that okay, that person is not holding to whatever they have promised. But I say that, have you signed that? No. So I say you cannot complain because I think document is being documented, all this before the transaction happen is very important.
Right.
I,
Mariah, just take a note. You mentioned
Yeah.
something very interesting, but we'll cover it later. You
Yeah.
mentioned whether the co-agent and the listing agent represents each other party. Yes,
Yeah.
that question is very important, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay, interesting. Heads up.
Some people,
Right.
there's a few ways to look at this relationship. So, and it means differently, and who is being paid or not paid based on that relationship as well. So we'll talk about that later at the end. It's a good question that came up. Yeah.
I think this is something that I'm also not fully clear on all the time. All right. So why is it important to have standards for this kind of co-agency? Why is it important to have standards for this? What would you say? Yeah, Cheng.
So that we all know the framework, how we should work. When there is a lot of ambiguity and too much of fluidness, we find that it's very hard to pinpoint the exact issues or how to understand each other better. So I'm like what Charles said, I'm very technical. I like to make sure that whatever we do is properly documented so that there's no misunderstanding, because as it is, it's so difficult to communicate already. So throw in another spanner, guessing game and all that. I don't think that's the way we should do business. I think everything should be properly documented, even if it's just really simple scribbles or even some exchange of messaging or whatever. At least be clear about about it, so that because a lot of times I feel people assume a lot, too much assumption. I assume that the fee is 3% and therefore I'm going to get 50% of it. Then the co-agent say, I didn't tell, she never asked, I don't say lah. There's a lot of this going around, and then at the end, that's where the issues surfaces.
Right. So basically too much guessing, too much assumptions. You need the standards to clarify everything in writing to okay.
My dad always say he said sometimes a lot of things we do we use common sense, right? But actually common sense is not very common. So that's the reason why we have to put everything down properly. Because sometimes we think it's common sense that people should know this one. But no, it's only common sense to you. It's not common sense to the other guy. He didn't get it. So
common sense.
So sometimes I also feel like, okay, So I always say that don't put your standards on others. So neither should others also impose their standards on you. So the best is to use a standard that is recognized by the market, recognized by the industry. Yeah.
So good. Okay. So can you share with us the key principles and the guidelines like on co-agency outlined by MIEA? That will be
it's actually outlined by the board.
Actually, explain to me. What do you mean?
The review of the Malaysian Estate Agency Standards actually issued by the Board of Valuers, Appraisers, Estate Agent and Property Managers, Malaysia.
It's different, not the same group. Okay, cool.
MIEA will just the association.
MIEA, I think, is to promote the standards. Right.
Correct.
So more people to have the clarity. Yeah.
Got it. Good to know.
Okay, so let me just quickly go through. I know there are a couple of slides. Just let me quickly go through. Don't worry, I won't bore you guys to death. If you have any questions or on any of the pointers, it'll be good to just note it down in the chat so that we can deal with it as we go. Yeah, because I won't be able to see your chat when I'm presenting. Okay, I always like this slide because if anybody asked, what is the the guiding principles behind how we do our business, actually is these 4 things: the act, the rules, the standards, and the circulars. So the act, I think we don't need to talk about that because that's it's a long, it's this thick. I don't have a copy of it today with me, but it's a lot of details. But the most important part of it is actually the rules, which helps to govern the way certain practices that we do, whether it's advertisement or recruitment or soliciting and things like that. Then we have the standards that further clarifies the act and the rules. And then we have circulars that sometimes clarifies the standards and the rules and the act. Okay, sometimes they add things. So then we've got to also check the circular to make sure that whatever we do is in compliance. So sometimes the question people ask is, why is compliance important? Because compliance saves you money. Yeah, as much as you want to go out there and make money, you also don't want to lose money, right? So compliance is that don't lose money bit. Yeah. Okay, so this is the act. These are the standards I was referring to. I think some of the older agents would have the 1999 version. I probably thought that was the nicest ring-bound version, but the rest have been, changed or evolved. So 2020 is the latest, and that is the 3rd edition. So where you want to find circulars is actually on the board website, lpph.gov.my. Then you go to circulars, and you can find all the latest pointers about what is new, or the board is looking at new standards, new guidelines and things like that, is all in the circulars. Okay, so the standard, the Malaysian Estate Agency Standards has 10 standards altogether, but we're only going to cover the co-agency practice, which was actually introduced only in year 2014. So imagine that before 2014, all the co-agency, anybody do anyhow you want.
Oh dear.
But in 2014, it became more, structured and regulated. Okay, so I won't go through the definition because we went through that just now, who is the co-agent and who is, what is co-agency and what is lead agent, lead agency. Maybe I'll just go through very quickly. When in a relationship of a co-agency, there's actually two parties. Yeah, one is the listing agent who has the listing, the property to sell or to rent. And then you have the co-agent, which is the person, the party with a potential buyer or a potential tenant or lessee for that property. So actually, you have a title one in a co-agency. You're either a listing agent or you're a co-agent. You're not co-agent and co-agent. One of you is the listing agent, one of you is the co-agent. Yeah. Sometimes we say, oh, I'm calling my co-agent. Wow, then it's very, sometimes I find so confusing. So does that mean that you are contacting the listing agent, or are you the one with the buyer, or you? So we have to ask, hey, do you have the buyer or do you have the seller one? Because the name itself we call so wrong already. So next time to reference a person with the listing, just call him the listing agent. And if you are the co-agent working with the listing agent to close the deal, then you are the co-agent. If you have the listing, then you are the listing, that guy is the co-agent. Then it becomes very clear, the relationship. Because every day in the office, we're asking, hey, is this person representing the buyer? Is it has the buyer or has the seller? Yeah, because of the definition, even in the name itself,
I didn't know this.
Confused.
Common.
Yes, very common. This is
wherever we come into, they have dispute. Then we are always the first one to ask them. So who is the listing agent?
Yes.
Right. I thought co-agent I thought both of them are co-agents of each other. I thought it's just a general term. I didn't realize that.
In a way it is, but actually within that co-agency arrangement, there is actually two different roles. One of them is the listing agent, one is the co-agent. So if we get all these definition and wordings correctly, we won't be so confused in the marketplace. We won't be so confused. Okay, so lead agency, I won't go through it. This is more for project marketing. There'll be a lead agent and sub-agent. So you see, listing agent is defined. So listing agent says an estate agent who has obtained a listing has been given the rights to sell or buy or lease or let or rent the property for the client. So a listing agent is the person who has been appointed and will be paid the fees. Yeah, so that would be the listing agent. Okay, all right. Now let's just talk quickly about this co-agency practice. Yeah, I'll run it through really quickly. Then if you have any questions, then we talked about it at the end. Yeah, so like I mentioned, so listing agent, and a co-agency firm known as a co-agent. So two parties are listing agent, listing agency firm, co-agency firm, co-agent. Okay, of course, the terms and conditions of the working relationship between the two must be specified clearly, especially on the fee sharing. I think a lot of things people are very worried is actually all about the money. Okay, so very important, this word called agree in writing. Even the board says we want it down in writing. I know contract can be formed verbal or written and things like that, but the board specified very specifically agree in writing, which means to say if let's say two agents started fighting over a co-agency deal gone wrong, but there was nothing in writing, the board also won't help you look into the matter. Yeah, the board said no, because why? Both of you obviously did not read the standards. You did not have any agreement in writing, and therefore we are not even going to try to mediate or even try to find out who's at fault in this particular matter. So, okay, so that's the most important. Second thing is, this is a new addition. That's why I highlighted in blue. All co-agency agreements now shall have. So shall, I guess, shall versus will. They said there's a difference in definition in contracts. I'm sure some of us are lawyers in the midst. This word shall, I think, in my view, is must have an expiry date decided by the listing agent. Okay, so a lot of people are thinking, why is an expiry date needed? Number one, if you're the listing agent, maybe the owner only appointed you as an agent for 3 months. So how can you co-agent with another person for 6 months or a year or indefinitely? Because you have an expiry date on your listing appointment also. So it's something like a subtenant, right? Your subtenancy cannot be longer term than the main tenant, right? Because you no longer have the rights after that date. So all co-agency agreement shall have an expiry date. And it's also good, and maybe later, Mariah, we can also take note, is a co-agency agreement signed between two parties indefinite or not? That means, is it once my co-agent, once my buyer in this co-agency, forever my buyer? Or is it once my listing, forever my listing? It doesn't matter. So we talk about that because the concept also, it's very tricky, That means some people say, hey, but we signed a co-agency agreement last year, for this buyer, Wow. And then the buyer came and found you for another property.
Right.
So does that co-agency agreement still hold? Not that 1 year ago when you signed one.
That's literally one of the questions somebody asking actually.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't see. Okay. We take note of that. We take note of that because
I think it's a common thing.
Yeah, the expiry date issue now, that's why this was added in by the board in the year 2020, realizing that there were a lot of issues revolving around this issue. Okay, so then of course, co-agency firm is not permitted to solicit the same. That means you already know which property, right? Now you go and do owner search and try and find out who is the owner and list the property. So it's a firm no on this during the co-agency agreement. Okay.
But on the last one just now, if you go back the slides before, the 7.2.3, right? This one, actually in the market, there's also a lot of things like, even I think last week I heard about this agent will work with another agent. So they view the house. Then, okay, you sign this agent will sign the co-agency letter. But then this person will tell the friend that, hey, this unit is available. You go after the same unit. You know, it's so sad, you look at the standards, right?
Okay, we take note of that also because that is another area to handle also. So that would mean that we have like 3 points that we need to handle later. So I know this topic is very interesting. Okay. Let me quickly go through the standards. Okay, so 7.2.4 say, okay, so in a co-agency agreement, actually the earnest deposit is another big issue, isn't it? Who actually keeps the earnest deposit? If let's say I'm the co-agent, I like to say I'm close to the buyer. The buyer trusts me. So the buyer wants to put the earnest deposit with me, and not the listing agent. But then you think about the story. Who actually is the one responsible for the payment of fees when the transaction is done? Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, is the listing agent, which is the owner wanting to pay the listing agent, and the owner appointed the listing agent, not you, the co-agent. So how can you hold the money for somebody that you don't even know on behalf of somebody else? So that is another very gray area. So we always go back to the principle of this blue color, which they indicated as a revision in 2020. Only the party authorized by the client. So who is the client by definition? The definition of client in the Malaysian Estate Agency Standard means the person who appoints you and is responsible for the payment of fees. Even this definition, I tell you, the marketplace is so confused. So let me repeat. The client is the person who appoints you and is responsible for the payment of the fees. So who is the client being referred to in this particular clause 7.2.4? Is referring to the landlord, owner, the seller of the property, right? Only the party authorized by the seller or landlord or the owner to be the rightful appointed stakeholder. Why? As a stakeholder, as an owner, I'm authorizing my listing agent to collect on my behalf. Money that will eventually belong to me. Client's account, I always say, is money waiting to be given to the client, which is the owner. So I can only work with people who I authorize. How can an unauthorized person hold my money in trust for me? What is his relationship with the owner of the property? But of course, if the owner said, it's fine, anybody can hold the money, it's fine, I trust all agents, then agreed in writing, then the co-agent can hold the earnest deposit on his or her behalf. Okay, so be very clear. So if the party authorized by the client, and the client is by definition the person who appoints you and responsible for the payment of fees. Okay. So of course the fee share.
I think I also have one interesting thing on the 7.2.4, right?
Okay.
So, you see, agents actually it's a case benar, but I don't remember which one. So the agent that are representing the vendor, so when they want to claim their fees, right? They do it in writing to the vendor. They say that, so in the writing, so they something like they mention the clients. Actually, when they mention the clients means the purchaser. So when they do it in writing, they mention the clients and stuff, right? Then at the end, right, there's one case that the owner come back to write in return, right? Reply to that in that demand, say that since you say that the fee shall be paid by the client, so you mentioned that person is your client, so get them. So is I think very important for agent to take note on this.
Yes.
You don't want to-
Don't use this word client so loosely. I
Oh,
always tell agents, the moment you say, let's say I'm a listing agent, one agent come and say, hey, Cheng, I want to do co-agency with you. I have a client, I want to buy that property. I'm very happy, no? Because when you say you have a client, want to buy, right? So that
Means
means
someone
your
paying you.
client is paying you, so I collect from my side, you collect from your side, we do a co-agency, I'm completely happy.
okay.
But no, most of the time they say, no. What we mean, so you're saying that you have a buyer that's interested in my listing and you're going to fee share with me lah. Is that what you mean? Be clear lah. You know, sometimes I always say, be clear, clarity.
I think the term is, yeah.
Yeah, to be clear about it. You are in the business of real estate. You must know the definitions really well. So you don't use it loosely or it will be misinterpreted. So if you ask me, am I wrong to assume that when you say you have a client, as per the definition of the MIEA, that the client will pay you, because the client definition is appoint you and responsible for the payment of fees. So if later you say, no, actually, I didn't mean that, you misunderstood me. How can I misunderstood when I have a standard to follow?
So
It's
you're
the
one that's wrong. Yeah.
You are the one that's blur, and then you're holding me responsible for your blurriness. I think that is not that's why we have to be very careful when it comes to these things. But I thanks Charles for sharing the case of Bana because you know, a smart party in the transaction would definitely use all this technicality to catch you
Right.
and make sure they don't pay you when you
Right.
are for having done what you're supposed to do.
The main takeaway is client equals the person who pays you.
Yes.
Yeah, appoints you and pays you. Yes,
appoints you and pays you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
So now we move to 7.2.5. So usually the ratio for sharing is very understood to be 50-50, but it need not be the case. It can be 60-40, it can be 70-30, it can be 80-20. I got one time one agent offered me 80-20. You imagine that? 20 to me, 80 to him, you know. Wow, I felt so imbalanced after that. I was thinking to myself, I rather the deal don't go through than to be tortured by you in this arrangement, you know. So actually I told my buyer, I said, is it okay? We find another property because this agent is, you know, is treating us a little bit, you know, unfairly lah. So then even the buyer, the buyer wanted to buy the property also say, yeah lah, it's a little bit unreasonable, right? Yeah. So I think in order not to have imbalances and for long-term business, right, it's always good to go 50-50 or specify the amount. So it can be that you wanted to share and your portion, okay, sometimes the listing agent will say, okay, your portion, co-agent, is 1%. So you don't ask me whether it's 50-50 or 60-40 or 80-20, it doesn't matter. When you close this deal, we work together, your part is 1%. So it's very clear, also very good. So that means you don't question me later how much I get from the vendor, or if the vendor decides to give me bonuses or whatever, that, you know, our understanding is that your portion is 1%. So it's also very good to be clear on that basis lah. Okay, let me move to the next slide. So of course, any variation must be in writing. You know, there have been cases where they agree 50-50, right? Later on, there were the listing side, the owner said that no, he wanted to pay less or don't know whatever lah. And then the listing agent and the listing agent took away that portion first and then split 50-50. And the co-agent got so upset because you never agreed with me this one. When we did this deal, the time was 50-50 based on 3%. It's not 50-50 based on 2.8 now just because the owner decides to give us less or think. So there's a lot of, or there was a referral in between or whatever, you know. So we have to be very careful. Yeah, that whatever fee sharing that's agreed between the listing agent and the co-agent, write it out. Okay, I do understand that life circumstances, sometimes in negotiation, there could be changes. That means there could be new parties involved, there'll be complexities, especially if the deal was big. Then it's very important for the listing agent and co-agent to sit down and talk about it. don't just assume that everybody will understand or everybody's agreeable, you know. So I think it's important to bring everyone on the table and talk lah. Sometimes I feel that a lot of assumption is where misunderstanding has taken place. That means maybe the co-agent was quite happy, you know, to sacrifice some also. But because he didn't talk, then the co-agent suddenly feels that, hey, I think you're trying to be funny with me. And the moment the trust is lost, anything you do also, I think can very hard to bring it back. Okay, 7.2.7 says that co-agency can actually be initiated by either side. It's common practice now that if let's say I'm the co-agent and I want to work with a listing agent, I send in a co-agency agreement. But it can be very well that the listing agent say, no, don't worry, I will send you a co-agency agreement, you accept it. So it doesn't matter lah. Either way, it doesn't matter. But
in the past is initiated by the listing agent. Right?
Yes, but now both sides can initiate lah. But you see, I feel that it's right that the listing agent initiates because the listing agent is the one who has the terms of appointment. You know your terms, ma. But a co-agent, the reason why we like the co-agent to write in is because at least he discloses his interest. So at least we lock him in a little bit lah, that he's interested to work on the listing. So either way, it's fine. There's no hard and fast rule about this. That is okay lah. So all details pertaining to the property, the earnest deposit lah, the fees and everything, mode of payment and all that will all be written in the co-agency agreement between the parties. So having said that, if we really want to write all the terms out, I think the co-agency agreement may be many pages lah. So and agents being agents, sometimes we are very simplified. Yeah, so sometimes the terms we use in our co-agency agreement are not tight enough to protect you when a real dispute happens. How do you prove that that person is your buyer? That buyer really came to the property. You say is your buyer there, that guy that day came on Thursday, that appointment, remember? Who's that?
Yeah.
Did he sign any forms that he's your buyer?
Right.
So sometimes there's a lot of ambiguity, and then we just yell and scream and shout, and then they're wondering, actually, how do I prove that he's my buyer? Okay, we can get to that. We can get to that later also. Okay, so whatever it is, the listing firm must ensure that they are at the viewing, they are on top of the game throughout the process. I know some listing agents are very lazy, they don't even go for viewings. Sometimes they say that, hey, you can't collect the key from me lah. Then you see it, then after that you close lah, and then you return it. So sometimes our so-called smartness has also brought ourselves pain. Because who is responsible for the property? Anybody can go in and out. You are the one with the key. You are responsible for what happens. Or what happened if the person was living there? Or the neighbor happened to come out and say that, oh, you're interested to buy property. Hey, now this is the owner, this is the details. Then you can call him. Then for nothing, you have opened yourself to potential issues. But if you were there, at least you can say, thank you very much, Mr. Neighbor. I will handle it. This is my contact information. Anybody call, you call me, don't call the owner. You could have done some damage control. But when we hands off, we want to use the easy route. And that's where sometimes we buy ourselves problems. Okay, so we have to pay them promptly, of course, not to contact each other's prospects. And of course, we have to keep informed the whole process, and it's the role of the listing agent to also ensure that the fees are collected. Sometimes I always ask this question, how do you know that the listing agent has a valid appointment letter from their client to sell? And you are taking such a big risk to co-agent with this person, and this person you also don't know, got or don't have. So actually, a co-agency is a very dangerous game, but sometimes it's a calculated risk lah. Yeah, I mean, no business we can do. Everything must be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Where got such thing one? So we have to take that risk, take that chance, but of course, not blindly gathering sufficient facts. Okay, we're almost finished. So of course, every co-agency firm must make sure that they go and see the property through the listing agent, keep the agent informed about the whole progress. Don't advertise a property that just because you enter in a co-agency agreement doesn't give you the permission to now put a signboard on the property, advertise on iProperty, Property Guru and all that, do flyers and distribute in the whole neighborhood. No, it doesn't give you the automatic right to promote the property unless the listing agent say, yeah, it's fine, go ahead. Better still, then go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Of course, no signboards. I mentioned that. And okay. So there's another issue about co-agency that maybe Charles should have a lot of stories also. Isa, the party you brought to the property, right? It wasn't the party who purchased the property. His wife purchased it. Okay, that kind of situation. So is that still your party? Okay, that's the first question. Second question is, the guy came, but it wasn't an individual's name in the property. Finally, the purchaser was a company. Then how? Or it was the uncle or the cousin. I don't know. It can be variations of that. So does your co-agency still stand?
Right. Does it?
Does it?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Okay, so that's where 7.3.2.6 comes in, this one is more on okay. Then there's another trick that sometimes happens in the marketplace. The listing agent may not may not reveal that. Oh, sometimes this buyer, I know this guy I've already showed him this property. Wow, then suddenly how? Is it really he knows the buyer? Or because the buyer showed up, then suddenly he knows, and then he was going to contact the buyer? How, man? If let's say I'm the listing agent, I want to know all buyers that are interested in my property. I co-agent with everybody. I say, no. Then the moment the buyer comes, hey, I know you, hey, how are you? And then how? What about the co-agency agreement that we signed? Is it invalid just because I know the buyer? Or how do I prove to the co-agent that actually this buyer already saw this property through me? Wow. Complexities, isn't it?
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, complex a little bit. So as the listing agent, right, sometimes what I do is I will say that, okay, what industry is your buyer in? Okay, let's say F&B. Maybe can you share the last 4 digits of his handphone contact? I will cross-check with my list. If he's already on my list, don't view, no co-agency, because he's already on my buyer's list.
This is a good
You've got to
tip.
find some mechanism to put a stop to listing agents. Let's say you're the co-agent, a listing agent claiming that everybody that walks through the door, she or he has seen before, and you are no longer valid, or no longer, the co-agency agreement is gone. Yeah. And also, I always recommend that if possible, whenever you're at any of these co-agency appointments, viewings and all that, nowadays people love selfies, isn't it? Yeah. We all love to take selfie, rather than and then food photos. Rather than just taking food photos and selfies of yourself, why not do a selfie of everybody that attended that viewing? So the property is at the background, the buyer is there, your buyer is there, you are there, the co-agent is also there. Everybody is in one selfie shot. So if later they say that, no, that buyer is not the one, check backwards the photograph.
Right.
That person was there. At least there was some photographic
record
of evidences of such. Of course, the best would be to sign the viewing form. I think we don't practice this enough, but the viewing form is so powerful. It's there to protect you, especially when you're representing the buyer or the tenant side. That means you are the one with that buyer or tenant party to prove that that buyer or tenant came to know about this property through your hard effort, not through anybody's hard effort. So I think viewing form is another way to protect yourself. Okay, let's quickly finish this part. Wait. And of course, the earnest deposit shall be transmitted to the listing agent's client or to the client's authorized stakeholder. Sometimes the client wants the lawyer to be the stakeholder. That is also possible. And of course, with the authorization of the client, then the professional fees can be offset against the earnest deposit. So sometimes we get confused who our client is, because we think that the buyer putting the earnest deposit is actually paying us our fees. Yeah, so that's how agents all get confused. But no, the buyer is putting down money as part payment for the seller, So the money actually belongs to the seller. The money doesn't belong to the buyer the moment the the moment the money leaves his hand as earnest deposit. So when people understand that clearly, the money sitting in the client's account is sitting for the client, not sitting for other people. Yes, I know we're holding it as stakeholder. We're not supposed to release it to any party, but the rightful owner of the money is actually to the owner, if the whole process is, goes through smoothly. So the money actually belongs to the seller, right? So the seller must give you the authorization to offset the earnest deposit, which is money belonging to him, as your fees. So but I tell you, in the marketplace, a lot of agents confused. They always think that the buyer is paying them. No,
Right.
buyer is not paying them. Yeah.
they thought they should represent the buyer
They're
interest.
just confused
Right.
because of the earnest deposit. Because
So-
the earnest deposit can knock off as fees, then they got confused. They thought the buyer is paying them.
Can I just clarify? So you're saying the earnest deposit is paid by the buyer. It goes into that account.
Client's account, yes.
And it's as soon as that's done, the money is no longer belonging to the buyer in that moment. It's already belonging to the
It's
vendor.
going halfway to the owner already, yes.
Like halfway
Actually
there. So
belongs
that's
to him. Yeah.
very interesting. So that's why that person is the one that will say who gets paid what from that money kind of thing.
Yeah, correct. So
Okay.
this 7.3.3.1 actually states that.
Interesting.
Okay, so there's another segment on co-agency. Of course, this one's under standard number 3. So not just standard number 7. There's another 2 standards that cover a little bit.
Oh,
So
I see.
when you work on a co-agency, they say it must be respected, and the listing that has been secured through the co-agency should not be passed on to everybody, to other branches, other officers, and all that, without the consent of the listing firm. I think that should be respected. I think so far it is. But because, let me just share with you another another twist to the standards. Because when a listing agency and a co-agency enters into a co-agency agreement, actually the arrangement is a firm-to-firm thing.
Oh.
So
between the
this one is
firms.
also to me very challenging. But luckily in the marketplace, the listing agent and the co-agent kind of respect that it's a individual to individual arrangement. But imagine it's the firm-to-firm thing. I cannot imagine the chaos, actually. So by now, most people are not aware. They think that it's an individual to individual thing. So we shall leave it at that. But if you really look at the standards, right, that's not what it says. Okay. So, and of course, the other thing under viewing, standard number 8, the listing agent is encouraged to be present for all co-agency arrangement. Okay. So I think that's all. Yeah. So I shall stop share.
Wow.
I don't know. I didn't read all the questions, but probably there's a lot.
So good. There's so many things that I think, I mean, I did not know. So many things to know. Yeah. So this first question by Meku, co-agent represents the buyer. Okay. Conclude the deal. Can the co-agent subsequently approach my vendor on another property for sale?
What does your co-agency agreement states? Usually the co-agency agreement will state the property address, right? And your co-agency arrangement is for that particular
property listed.
So, yeah.
So meaning they can. So that means
in a way it's not protected. Yeah, in a way it's not stated. Yeah, but I think that should be the right word. It's not specified clearly in the co-agency agreement. But as far as we know, based on the standards, the co-agency agreement is for that particular property and for that particular buyer at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if 1 year later, that buyer buys the property.
But I think agents always think the client is exclusive to them. I think that's the problem, right?
The exclusive is only when you have an exclusive appointment letter.
Yeah, but like if I represent my client, if I represent my buyer, so I always thought this buyer is exclusive to me the whole life. I don't know lah. Right?
Okay.
You cannot think like that.
Actually, I always ask the question, what do you all think? Do you all really think that once your buyer, always your buyer?
Yeah.
We hope so, right? We try to build that relationship that they will want to stick with us because we give such good service. But technically, they're free to do what they want.
In a relationship situation, like let's say I have a buyer who wanted to do a co-agent. I mean, I do a co-agency with a listing agent. My buyer said he's quite interested in that property. So when he went a view, he looked at it and he said, nah, it's not suitable for me. So actually it's the end already. It's actually the end.
Yeah.
The end. I took the buyer to the property. He looked at it. He didn't like it. So actually, we can end the co-agency relationship already.
I mean, you can.
It's over, actually. Technically, it's over.
Oh, according to the document.
According to the document, it's over.
Okay.
So if the same buyer go back to the same area for Cheng's other property, I think I have no rights to claim on that.
Correct. You have no rights anymore. You have no rights because I co-agent with you for that particular property. Not for all the listings under my hand. The 100 listings that I have is not for your buyer. You are co-agent with me. You are doing a co-agency with me for that particular listing. So be very clear, no? If let's say the buyer goes there and say that, hey, do you have any other property that, then you better be smart, really say that. So, hey, listing agent, so we have to do a co-agency on the other listings. Otherwise, the co-agency is only on that particular listing.
Okay.
Same for the buyer. Same for the question that asked about buyer is the same, right? Today, if I close a deal with Cheng's owner, okay. So after that transaction, I think maybe Cheng's owner reach out to me for other thing. I think that it's not exclusive anymore. That relationship. That's why we keep on getting agent to build a strong relationship with their clients, with vendors, because you want them to, after any transaction, if I'm not a better agent than Cheng, the seller or the owner will always go back to Cheng. But if I'm better than Cheng, then you cannot blame lah, right? Yeah. That's why we keep on asking our agent to build a strong relationship. I think some owners, they are your followers. You want to build that and get them anything that they want, they always go back to you.
I want to just, so that, oh, you want to say something first? Yeah.
So the only party we can really hold on to is the seller, because the seller is the one that pays us and appoints us, right? Some people say that, no, the buyer is faithful and loyal to me. I don't think there's a faithful or loyal buyer in that sense, yeah?
No,
because if I'm the buyer, right, whoever can bring me the property that I want, whether I like him or not, I buy lah. Because why? I'm not buying because of the agent. I'm buying because of the property I need, right? Yeah. But the seller is different. The seller depends on you to find him a buyer, so it's different. He has, even if he appoints 5 or 10, he's depending on these 5 to 10 to find him the buyer. So in a way, he's more loyal than the buyer is to you lah.
Right. I know though, it's so, I mean, on that topic in KW, we have this win the buyer idea, right? That you want, the buyer will want to stick with you because they feel that you are putting their needs first. You're going to help them to negotiate the best deal. You're going to they will trust you on some level, right? Yeah. But I want to bring up, so Ashlyn shared a few weeks ago, right, on how they end up getting into she ended up bringing a lot of buyers to, an agent that has a lot of listings kind of thing. And they have kind of that understanding, and they end up closing a lot of co-agency deals. So since you mentioned about how actually the deal is only for that one particular, if you bring someone to view one property, it's only for that one property, right? And then technically the listing agent could go and poach your buyer, right, for another
Mariah,
property, isn't it? Yeah.
So the following question is, if Ashley is here, do you sign every opportunity?
How do you protect yourself? I mean, I'm guessing they just have they're trying to be good, faithful people, have an understanding that we're going to work together, we're going to bring together the people. Yeah. But how do you actually protect yourself?
Sign the co-agency agreement, or else one day you come crying or say that this agent cannot be trustable. Actually, we are at fault because we are not doing the right thing.
Right.
I think the first step is to establish that relationship, right? Is a co-agency relationship. So sign it, document it, I think, to protect yourself.
So sometimes I feel that although the standards and the law and all that states this particular manner, in practice is more about the trust and the relationship you build among co-agents lah.
Right.
Because you see, I always believe that if a person is out there to cheat you, you can have a 100-page agreement, he'll still find a way. Trust me, if a person's mind is built in that manner, you do 100 pages co-agency agreement also, he'll find a way out lah. But there will be some that you deal with half a page, one line or so, the person will never break it. You see, so it's the character of the co-agents and the listing agents you deal with. So that's why I would say always be very careful about the individual. It's not about the company either. It's that person, his propensity to be right or his propensity to be open-minded or open-hearted about it, There was one case I shared with you. I think maybe I've shared with some before, right? There was one co-agency. Okay, there's a listing agent and a co-agent. So the co-agent contacted this listing agent and said, oh, I got a buyer. I'm bringing it at 5 o'clock. So the agent said, yeah, sure, anytime, because I specialize in this, I focus in this building. So I'm always here. So anytime now when you reach, you just call me, I'll be there. So around 4 o'clock, she was also showing properties to people here and there. So then she went into the lift, and then, being the, fun agent that she is, she turned around and introduced herself to the people in the lift. Oh, are you all staying here? Are you tenants, owners? Then one of the individual there say, oh yeah, actually I'm viewing some properties in this area. Like, oh, fantastic. Okay, this is my card. I've got an appointment now, but never mind, this is my card. Maybe later you can get in touch and I can show you some, because I really focus in this area. So then lo and behold, 5 o'clock came, right? So the co-agent brought that buyer, which she met in the lift randomly, not knowing it was the co-agent's buyer, there.
Interesting.
So now the question asked is, whose buyer is this now? Is it the listing agent's buyer because she bumped into him in the lift and she gave a card then, not knowing it was the same guy that was coming later at 5 o'clock? Or honor the co-agency co-agent?
I think should honor lah.
Because it so happened.
Yeah.
So that is a question that all of us need to ask. If you want to follow technicality, I would say no need lah. But for longevity in the business and for building relationship with co-agent, maybe you should go ahead with it. So sometimes it's like that. You know what I mean? It's not always a straightforward manner in which I'm right. I'm stick to my rights until the end. No, sometimes it's not about being right. Yeah, it's about getting the deal done, right? Not all the time. Yeah. So if he has to honor that particular one at 5 o'clock, then so be it. So in this particular case, that listing agent actually honored the co-agent's
good.
But only for that property, like he said, only for that particular listing. So if that buyer bought something else from her, then it wouldn't count. So I think I think she made a in between decision, I would say.
Right. There's so many hot topics in here. Okay, I have a really good questions here. Okay, so you mentioned about there's an expiration date, right? Inside the supposed to be expiration date in the co-agency. So if the co-agency closes, like what happens basically after that period, if after that expiration date,
okay, so this is the challenging part. If you are the listing agent, then you would probably want a longer expiry with the co-agent. That means if let's say you're the listing agent, but then again, you also, if the owner appointed you for 3 months, how can you lock the co-agent in for 1 year?
Right.
That part also funny already. So now how? Unless the owner has appointed you for 1 year, then you can go on a co-agency for 1 year.
Okay.
And always renew your always renew your appointments.
Your appointment letter. Okay.
So sometimes people say that, hey, should I not mention the deadline? Well, it's mentioned shall in the standards. So I guess it didn't say must, but shall and must actually kind of similar in terminology in standards, but it's a shall. It's not a must at the moment. So if you've written there that you want to put an expiry date on, especially if you are I don't know whether you are the buyer or the listing agent, then you could put it there.
Here's another one. Can one co-agency agreement be valid for all the buyers introduced for one agent, like for the same property? Can we have one agreement?
You can specify, but it's always a good idea that every single buyer that walks through that door, you sign the viewing form. So the listing agent cannot say that, no, it didn't see through you and see through me one. Yeah. So practice the viewing form, get photographic evidence if possible, and ensure that the co-agency mentions specifically that is for for any buyers that you may have for that particular listing. Or for that matter, if let's say you are the buyer, right, and you know that this listing agent has like 10, 20 units in one building, right? Then you might want to say a generic one, not specifically for that unit, but to say that units within, let's say Menara, Menara, I don't know, whichever lah, let's say one particular building. So rather than specify to one, and if the buyer buys another one, then in technicality, she tried to fault you. So you just lump up the whole building lah. whatever listings that she has there. So then if you do that, then it gives you a bigger net.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned about the referral fees that you should mention, like the 50-50 on a 3%, or versus not a 2.8%. Is the referral fees mentioned inside the listing, the co-agency agreement?
No, by right, in the co-agency agreement, I always believe that each party take care your own side, right? So if everybody can claim, oh, I got to pay this guy, I got to pay that guy, and all that, and then if let's say I'm the listing agent, hey, I'm not responsible for paying everybody, so you take care of your side, I take care of my side. We share 50-50. If you have 10 buyer referrals to pay, you pay from your 50% lah. If I have 11 referrals to pay on my listing side, I'll pay my side lah. So that would be the easiest approach. Otherwise, it messes up the relationship. That's why I don't like. I don't like to, because I said everybody take care of your own. If you think that it's going to be a tricky situation, then you specify the amount. Your portion is 1%. So it doesn't matter. I don't care if there are 10 or 20 or 100 referrals. You get 1%. You deal with it. You deal with it.
Right.
Yeah. Or sometimes people say that it's 50-50 after all, all referrals. But that is, to me, a little bit unfair, because you could cook up a new referral. Suddenly, this new person came and said he wanted to demand 30% or 50% of the fees. And then just because of that, now you watered down your 50% to 25%. Is that how you want to do your deals? You know what I mean? So I would say each side take care of yourself. You want to pay 5 guys, up to you. I want to pay 1 guy, up to me. Yeah. So you take care of your side, I take care of my side. Fair. I always go on that basis. I tell you, you will be surprised, especially when the deals get bigger. Every side suddenly mushrooming one. From one referral become 3 already now. Then after that, I don't know lah. Banker, lawyer, everybody, auditor, or company secretary, everybody comes and get involved. No. You take care of your side, I take care of my side.
Yep. And I always share with agent, right? If you want to stop all this referral thing, you don't ask referral from your lawyer, then you stop. They also won't ask from you. You cannot blame them when you start asking from these people, right? And when they come to you, then you say, hey, what is this? They're not professional. But you are the one, we are also the one that started it. So if you want to stop all this, don't ask for any referrals.
Referral is another issue, because of the latest amendment to the MACC Act. This referral now, very soon, MACC has visited, we have, in MIEA, we have communicated with MACC, and they're very strong about this thing called bribery. And all these referral fee, introducer fees, and all that are deemed very sided towards being a bribe. Because what did the referral do to deserve that money? Spit out a name? Is that a bribe?
Gosh.
So very, very dangerous.
So a session about
now
this.
we're also having a headache now at MIEA. Referral fees, introducer fees, are they safe to pay, or do they now come under another act called MACC that we need to be careful about, because it may be deemed as a bribe? I mean, what did the guy was sitting on let's say he was working for a multinational company, let's say, or whatever. He has the manager in charge, right? And you pay this manager in charge because he gives you the leads of potential tenants that come to the property, that may come through his company, and therefore you have a potential to close the deal. So you pay him some money so that he smoothens the journey for you. Tell me, is that not a bribe?
It's a bribe.
Okay, let's not go into this. It's gonna open a whole can of worms.
You know the best, right? I think the person who wanted to give out, I think you know the best. But I think it's also, I think 2027, I think RHGN wanted to digitalize all the invoicing and payments, right? I think just like next 4 years, you're able to track everyone who receive any money trail. That's very important, because currently they cannot keep to know that money trail, but in future they wanted to digitalize everything. They want to keep track on all this. Then I think it's harder.
Yeah.
But actually, I wanted to say that the MACC Act is more governing commercial organizations. That means they were talking about companies that practices this. So they're not coming for the individuals that give money, like, Charles give me 10,000, for doing something for him. That is like, they're not coming down to the individual level. They're just coming to the company side. Yeah. So the company shouldn't do it, but they haven't come down to the individuals yet. Yeah, not yet.
Let's keep this topic for next time, because I still have another couple of questions to ask. And,
go.
Are we gonna do that? I think you wanted to ask the audience to fill out something, right? To ask them what is the main concern
biggest
about
challenge. Yeah. Let's ask them in one word, what's the biggest issue?
Let's just try this really quick. All right. So this is a link. There's a link. Will there be a link also we can click? Or go to menti.com. So we go to, everyone can go to menti.com and enter this code 41326315, and you say, what is your biggest challenge in co-agency? Just put like one word answers. So for example, like Cheng, you want to give some example? Trust, okay. Yeah, so maybe it's things like, is it fees? Is it, what is the different, what's the issue? So while you guys are doing that, this will probably take a minute. I want to ask Cheng, what steps, what recourse do we have, right? If someone, let's say, we have a co-agency, agreement or something, and then it seems like it's not right, there's something goes wrong, and, we feel like we have been undercut. What do we do? What do we do when that happens?
With a co-agency agreement?
Yeah, let's say we've got into an agreement, and then somehow something happened, and then in the end we have been undercut, basically. And we feel like it's not right, this is not good, or maybe we didn't have a co-agency agreement, I don't know, but like what are the things that we can do when things go?
I think when it comes to recourse, because co-agency agreement is also in a way it falls under, I do believe it falls under a contract. So there will be certain side that, you're supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, and if you don't do your side, then you have broken the arrangement.
Right,
so
right.
Normally, in these sort of scenarios, of course, the first thing they'll do is they will report to the board. They will write to the board and say that this particular agency is not honoring their part of the arrangement under the co-agency standard number, 7 and all that. So that is one. But usually people will take the legal recourse. They get lawyers involved and fight it out. Yeah.
So if one of the agents in your agency, like they should come, who do they talk to first? They just go straight to a lawyer, or they should come and talk to you?
I think they can talk to the compliance officer of the company, the
okay.
person who's in charge of their, all these compliance issues, talk it out first and see whether there's an angle. Because sometimes when they look at the documents and all that, they say, this one, the chances very slim, or this is good chance. Then only you want to think about putting money and saying that, okay, I think let's put some money and fight it out. I think we can win this case. Or if it's too scanty, you have no documents at all, then we got to just cry about it, go and have some coffee and cake, and then lament and don't ever repeat the same mistake. So, but we learn. I have co-agencies gone wrong also. Everybody has. So it's just that we got to learn from it. Two times now the same thing. It's a bit.
Yeah.
It's sad. Yeah.
So do you want to come and look at your answers now? And
so interesting. There's one I saw Balaga, the listing agent.
Oh, that's the problem.
It is, sometimes the listing agent don't want a co-agent with you, right? Yeah. I had that scenario also.
But it can be also because the listing agent, you thought that they are the listing agent, but actually
they're not.
But some agency, they promote a lot of things like, one listing agent, they get a listing, then they ask anyone that under the group start to promote this. So all this, the share already been shared 50-50. So that person who advertised it, they didn't mention it that this listing they already shared with someone. So when you contact them, they say no co-broke, because they can't co-broke anymore because 50% already with the listing agent. Then they are the one.
Yes, right.
To fish for a purchaser or the tenants.
Right.
Yeah.
So complicated.
Yeah, actually, it's a challenge. That's why I say sometimes people think being an agent is so easy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not lah.
I mean,
and then some owners say, "Oh, so easy, you make this money." No lah.
Yes, owner. Actually, it's not easy. We are not easy.
So we struggle owners, every day.
It's tough because I can hear from this session. I hear that doing co-agency is actually a bit risky legally. It's a bit risky. There's a lot of things that can
very risky.
But all the time we are like in terms of business wise, actually co-agency is the way to go lah, because that is how you can close a lot more deals a lot faster. You
Yes.
can make more money, I think, long term by just by doing co-agency and by getting. But it sounds like you really, like you said, you need to find those listing agents or those, you know, co-agents that you can trust. You say it's
Yeah,
mostly
correct.
about that. It's going to come down to finding the people that you can trust, that you can work with, because you cannot 100% like waterproof this whole. You know,
Yeah, correct.
people are very bad
Yeah, it's also
intention.
good to, it's also
Yeah.
good among ourselves to like also, if you had a co-agency gone wrong, right? So there's these few characters that maybe you bump into that really you think that they're just out there to get everyone else undercut lah. Then you
Right.
might want to put them in a little
Yeah.
black book. You
No,
know,
we have a group. We have a group that
maybe
all this
we have
blacklisted.
a office record of
The red name.
the big no-nos of agents that you
Okay.
don't want to do co-agency, even if it,
Got
you
it.
know, maybe you could start with that, and then at least you self-regulate in a way and protect yourself lah. Because if the
Yeah.
whole industry actually works like that, then we can actually self-regulate. We can weed out the bad ones. And if nobody wants to co-agent with that unscrupulous guy, he will end up with no one to work with. And we, in a way, we stifle his growth and he'll fizzle out. So, but the
Right.
problem is if we continue to not tell anybody
Right.
and we let him off on his merry way doing this to every other person he deals with, then we are not part of the solution.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so our time is running out. So what we're gonna do now, okay.
Let's get a screenshot of this so that we don't.
Yeah, let's get a screenshot. Please do that. And it's getting smaller and smaller, all the words. There's so many good answers here. So I'm going to come back to you guys, and if it would be great if you could give some last comments, you know. In the meantime, everyone on the call, can you just write in the chat, what is the one thing that you want to do going forward? You know, one thing that you learned, that you realize, maybe you want to start using viewing form, maybe you, you know, something that you did not realize, like even about the expiration date or about clarifying about the fees, all that stuff. Just put something in the chat so that we can all learn from each other. Yeah. And I'm going to go to some announcements now while you guys just arrange that. Okay. And then we'll come back to Cheng and Charles in a minute. All right, guys. Ignite. It's starting tomorrow. Our next round in KW Malaysia Training Center. And if you haven't signed up, please sign up. It's such a great class. It's amazing. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so this is the whole course. There's 4 modules. There's so many great trainers. You will not regret joining this course. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Tuesdays to Fridays. We do learning and then we do action where we are building our business together.
Oh.
We are making calls. We are literally lead generating together and making appointments for later in the day, for later in the week. So it's good. Okay, next slide. So this starting tomorrow, you can go back. Yeah, this module 1, real estate expert of choice. In this module, you should come. It's even if you've been here for a while, you will really get a bigger picture of your business, the full picture. What do you want to do for this year? How does KW support you? You will also be able to learn a lot of tools and tricks. You will get a chance to open up your command and put all your contacts inside. We will do it together. You will make your website, your KW agent site together. We will download all the apps together and start to use them. So please sign up for this. Okay. All right. Next one. So KW Cares, for those who don't know, we have this organization for all KW Malaysia agents. If you have any problems financially because of a disaster, because of something serious illness, you can contact and maybe we can help to support you. All right, yeah. And we have client touch points. So come and download them in Circle and you can use them to send out to your database and, you know, catch those people and get more leads to come in. All right, next one. Okay, so Flagship Market Center has their events today. Of course, today they're in Damen Mall for those agents are over that side. And then on Tuesday, there is KW Central Day on Zoom with Winnie. And then Thursday, we have our Power Hour with George on the topic of objection handling, which is a very good topic. All right, guys. And then later in the day, 2:30 is Winnie on webpage. So you can also go for website on that day as well. All right, next slide. So for any friends you want to invite for like potential new agents you want to invite to check out the business, you can invite them for this Wednesday, 3 p.m. Roland will talk to them and convince them to come and join. Okay. So yeah, you can invite them for this event. And auction seminar, we're going to keep doing auction seminars this is on Saturday, 10 a.m. So you just bring in your investors and our Lelang boy will come and close the deal with them. Okay, he will convince them to come and make an offer or whatever with the auction properties. Okay, next one. Now in Puchong, today, right after this, I think they're doing Life Made Easier with KW Central. So you better put your butt over there if you're in Puchong and learn about that. Yeah, 10:30 a.m. And the last week of every month on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. to 12, they have special sessions that you should go for if you're in Puchong. So this coming Wednesday, 27th September is Master the Deal Closing by dominating the booking form. Okay, so kind of like this topic, know your forms, know what's the law. It's important for you guys. Okay, so you can sign up for that. All right, so we have our tech. So KW360plus.com scan for KW agents only 68 ringgit. This is such a good deal to have the top-notch video for your properties. Next one. We have 49 ringgit a month for data labs. This is also for the whole region of Malaysia. It's our special price for KW agents. So please sign up for that if you have not already. And from 199 ringgit a month only for our WhatsApp blasting tool with a lot of extra services. So please check out that if you haven't. Okay, great. Okay, let's come back to our lovely, beautiful guests. All right, Cheng and Charles. So any last words that you want to say to encourage our lovely agents also? I'm feeling bad for them after hearing all these stories. Yeah. All right, please. You want to share it first, Charles?
Okay. So I share something on something very different from this. So I think just now say that I take some photos. Those photo evidence, right? Don't post it on social media because you see sometimes the agent like to post whoever they like to be with.
Okay.
And you open up the floodgate that people from sometimes you cover their face with smiley face. Sometimes by the body shape, I know which customer also. so yeah. And you have all these, there are competitors in the market that this potential buyer or people that you are dealing with, they are shopping around. So most probably they are not only shopping with you. So sometimes they see, wow, this person start to active. Maybe I want to do something, even getting closer to the prospect just to close it. So you want whatever activities that you do undetected.
Good advice.
I see that, those no posting only for me because I don't serve clients, so I like to post. So when I'm an agent, I never post that my photo with my client before I close anything. Even something I close, I also don't post because you want to keep it under all this secret. But if you are so proud, you show it to the world, and someone go to your client, don't get mad Don't get mad. Come to myself or Cheng say that, hey, this person get my client. You are the one who posts it to the world, right? So yeah, be smart about it.
Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, Cheng, how about you? What do you want to share?
Okay, yeah. I'm not much of a social media person also. What I meant was keep it as evidence in case you need to use it. Yeah, not to go and shout about it or boast about it. Yeah. I would say that the real estate business is a dynamic business. There's always risk involved in the business that you do. You can only put so much of mechanism in place, but use them. That means the agreement is there, use them. The viewing forms is there, use them. The registration of your potential buyer with the co-agent, with your listing agent, you can use it. Chan, that XXXX, last 4-digit phone number, just to confirm that buyer is yours. Don't put certain mechanism in place that can reduce the chances of abuse But like I said no matter what you do also if a person is out there to get you, he'll get you but it will what I look at it is like setting fences You see, when a robber wants to rob a person, right, they want to look at the house. They will look for a house that is not really guarded, probably no grill, no gate or something, and then you go attack those So all we can do is put up the grill, the fence, the alarm system, everything in place to deter. So if people want to do, they think again, they say, wow, this one a bit
harder to do it.
A bit difficult because got this, got that. I think just let it be. Human beings are like that.
True.
I always believe that 7 out of 10 people will not do bad if there were things, if there were hurdles along the road. but 7 out of 10 will take opportunity if nothing was there.
Right.
Because you are the one who opened it.
Thank yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, it's good.
All the best
Thank
to the
you.
agents.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your advice and all your scary stories. But but thank you for the advice on how to avoid all this. Appreciate a lot. Thank you to all who are here on Zoom with us, asking all the great questions and giving comments. And thank you also on Facebook Live. Really wish you guys the best week, and may you not be undercut. Yeah. All right. Have a great week, guys. See you next time.